Hello, this is Tony Heller from RealClimateScience.com. In his novel 1984, George Orwell wrote, "The party told you to reject the evidence of your eyes and ears. It was their final, most essential command." Orwell probably intended this as a warning, but governments seem to have adopted it as their operating manual. I grew up in New Mexico and have been fascinated by the climate propaganda surrounding that state. Albuquerque Journal. The mega drought in the Southwest is drying up New Mexico, including the Rio Grande and Albuquerque. The Guardian. Mega drought in the American Southwest, a climate disaster unseen in 1,200 years. We've seen the propaganda, now let's look at the actual data. New Mexico just had their 8th wettest summer on record. Arizona, and particularly New Mexico, have just had an historically wet monsoon season. Some regions got more than 20 inches of rain between the middle of June and the end of September. And there's lots more rain in the forecast, which is unusual for this time of year. The United States Geologic Survey National Water Dashboard shows that rivers are running high in the Southwest. Stream flow in the Little Colorado River is running at an all-time high for this day of year. Stream flow in Kanab Creek near the Grand Canyon is running at an all-time high for this day of year. Stream flow in the Verde River in central Arizona, where I used to live, is much above normal for this day of year. Stream flow in the Big Sandy River is at an all-time high for this day of year. Stream flow at Mogollon Creek is at an all-time high for this day of year. Stream flow near Albuquerque is above normal for this day of year. Stream flow in the Santa Fe River is above normal. Stream flow at Rio Pueblo is much above normal. Stream flow in the San Juan River is above normal. It would probably be a good idea for people who write for the Albuquerque Journal to occasionally look out the window and see what's going on in the real world. New Mexico has a long history of very severe droughts. The Anasazi people dominated the Southwest for many hundreds of years, but they were wiped out by a 70-year-long drought in the 13th century. For thousands of years, the climate of New Mexico has fluctuated between wet periods and very dry periods. The Anasazi were wiped out by the medieval drought, which I'm pretty sure was not caused by the burning of fossil fuels. Over the past 1,200 years, the western U.S. has had some very severe droughts which lasted more than 1 or 2 centuries. These droughts were all natural, but now when we get a much smaller drought, the press insists that the current drought is man-made. These century-long droughts have been known for at least 100 years based on work published in 1922. In 1994, the New York Times wrote, "Severe ancient droughts, a warning to California." Beginning about 1,100 years ago, what is now California baked in 2 droughts, the first lasting 220 years and the second 140 years. Each was much more intense than the mere 6-year dry spells that afflict modern California from time to time now. These droughts occurred when carbon dioxide levels in the atmosphere were very low. But now the New York Times insists that we can prevent droughts by lowering carbon dioxide levels in the atmosphere. Nothing that the press writes about climate or energy seems to have any basis in reality or science. Everybody I know in New Mexico says it's the greenest they've ever seen it, and we'll be traveling down there in a few days to photograph it. I will probably title the video, "Greenest Megadrought in 1,200 Years." Toto's been pulling back the curtain on these Orwellian scamsters in the press and government for the past 14 years. You can visit him, Kyrie Caesar, Toki and Upala on the web at realclimatescience.com.